Singapore, where the airport looks like this, where a regular Toyota Prius costs more than 100,000 US dollars. Yet, it is one of the richest countries with more millionaires than Los Angeles, Paris, and London. And in today's video, we will discuss why Singapore is the best place for you to get rich, and even if you're starting out with $0 in capital. Reason number one, all the high-paying employers are here. Google, Meta, Apple, Disney, and BMW. These are some of the biggest companies that have made Singapore their Asian headquarters. What this means for you is that all these big companies will bring in high-paying jobs into Singapore. Now, it's not uncommon for someone with 5 to 10 years experience to be making more than 200,000 US dollars in key industries like tech and finance here in Singapore. So I've gotten these figures from a HR website. It's a free website and I don't make any money from it. I'm just sharing it with you in the description below so that you can know what is the typical salary here in Singapore. Now, you may be already considering finding a job in Singapore. And I know what you're thinking. The first problem is that if you're outside of Singapore, it is not easy for you to move to Singapore. I have worked with many international colleagues from the US, from India, from China, Australia, and many other countries. And the most direct way I see these people move into Singapore is to first get a job at a big company in their home country. They not only work really hard in their first 1 to 2 years there, but they were also very intentional of networking internally with their colleagues in Singapore to highlight their desires of moving here. Now, the key here is to already do well in these international companies so that they can sponsor your visa to Singapore. Do not make this common mistake of just buying an air ticket to come to Singapore or just mass applying jobs online. It is going to be a waste of your time and money because you have no company and no network to vouch for you. Reason number two, income tax is among the lowest in the world here. Earning a high income is not as fun if you have to pay a huge chunk of it to the government as income tax. Let's use an example. If you're finally getting your dream job and you're making 200,000 US dollars every year, the total income tax you pay in Singapore is $25,000. In California, the taxes will be at $53,000, and in the UK, that will be $80,000. This is important because in social media today, you see a lot of people sharing about their ideal salaries, and that number is often pre-tax. And because governments all around the world are constantly finding ways to increase your taxes, you need to start thinking about post-tax income instead. Reason number three, zero capital gains tax. In my previous video of how you can get rich with just a 9 to 5 job, I shared the importance of investing to increase your income stream. And in Singapore, there is 0% capital gain tax on most investments, no matter how long or how short you hold it for. That means that if today you buy a stock like Apple for $100 and tomorrow it goes up to $200, you can sell it just after 1 day and you get to keep the full $100 and you pay no taxes. One common way of looking at taxes is that it is the price you pay back to society to make sure it works for you. So better roads, better hospitals, and so on. But another way to look at taxes is that it is a form of penalizing you. For example, if the government doesn't want you to smoke, they will increase the taxes on tobacco. That's effectively punishing you for smoking. If you are in a country where the taxes are high for your capital gains, it's indirectly telling you that they don't want you to be rich and they want to penalize you for investing for your own future. Reason number four, it is illegal to live paycheck to paycheck. 63% of people today are unable to pay a $500 emergency expense. And half of Americans making $100,000 a year are still living paycheck to paycheck. This sadly means that how our global economy is set up right now, it is getting more and more difficult for people to save. And this is where Singapore tries to do things differently. If you are from Singapore, the moment you start working, you are being forced to save. So every month, up to 20% of your paycheck is taken away from you to be put into this mandatory Social Security savings scheme called the CPF, or Central Provident Fund. You can only start using this savings after you hit 55 years old. And if you somehow found a way to not participate in these mandatory savings schemes, you could end up in prison in Singapore. That's why it's technically illegal to live paycheck to paycheck here in Singapore. This is why sometimes you do have people criticizing Singapore for not being a fully free economy, because you do not have the full freedom to decide what you want to do with your income. But this also avoids the situation of you not being able to save because you are already living paycheck to paycheck. Reason number five, and the last reason, and that is 90% of Singaporeans own their home. but not really. So one of the things that Singapore is most proud of is that 90% of its people actually own their own homes. And when you compare that with the global housing crisis right now, resulting in so much homelessness and suffering, that actually sounds amazing. But here's the catch. Most Singaporeans do not own their homes in the way that you are familiar with. This is because property is very highly regulated in Singapore, and most of it is on a 99-year leasehold model. This means that you get to buy your house, but for only 99 years. You can stay in it, you can raise your kids in it, but once 99 years is up, you have to give back the property to the government. The government hit restarts by tearing down the entire building, then rebuilds a new building, and then sells it to the public at a cheaper rate because they're again selling it for only 99 years. So again, one of the criticisms of Singapore not being a fully free economy is that most people don't get to hold on to their property forever. But if you compare this to other affluent and high-income cities like New York and London, where big investment firms and rich families can buy just blocks and blocks of houses. And in fact, sometimes they're happy to just keep them empty for years and have no plans of renting them out. So this 99-year leasehold model actually allows more people like you and me working regular jobs to participate in the property market. So there you have it. These are the 5 reasons why I believe Singapore is the best country for you to realistically get rich while working at a 9-to-5 job. What do you think? Was I too positive about Singapore and did I miss out on anything? Leave your thoughts and comments below, and if you'd like to see more videos, here's a few more. Thank you for watching and see you next time.